All right, back to it now. Glad you're here. Just such a busy day, as you know, all these things we're covering right now. Number one, though, is Bidenomics. I mean, honestly, it's the economy that affects everyone, and some people not so well right now. Nick Hopwood is a certified financial planner, founder and president of Peak Wealth. You can always find him at peakwm.com. Nick, welcome back.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, we were talking about this in the break, man. It just feels like we're at a tough time in the economy, tough time with government, tough time being, confident in what's coming down the road, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like it's the movie Speed with Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves. We got this bus. We have to stay over 50 miles per hour or it's going to blow up. Or we got the concern about running out of gas. We could crash. And I feel like that's what we're dealing with the government shutdown right now.
Yeah. Well, the government shutdown doesn't concern me terribly. I mean, I've been through a number of these, so have you. And a partial shutdown, so it happens. Does anybody really get bothered by it? Not really. Nobody loses any money because we get to pay the bill when it's over every time, Nick. They never lose any money in the process. They get to spend it all anyway. But you wanted to talk about something pretty important today: tax planning, charitable planning. Giving to charities has always been kind of tricky. Is it tax deductible? Is it not? How does it work? Help me out.
Sure. So after the Trump tax cuts of 2017, most people are not itemizing their taxes. And that means if you make a charitable contribution to your favorite charity or church, you're not getting any tax benefits. And so one of the things that has really come to the forefront with tax planning and charities is a qualified charitable distribution. And this is when folks who are age 73 taking their required minimum distributions, instead of taking that distribution and then writing a check to church, just have your IRA send the money directly to the church, and you can get the benefit without itemizing your taxes.
So that's interesting. So if I have an inherited IRA from my parents when they passed away, and I have a required minimum distribution. If that went straight to a charity, how would that work?
So you fill out a form with your custodian, whether it's Charles Schwab or Fidelity, and set up the money to go directly to the charity, and you don't touch it, right? It's kind of like a rollover where it's not you're not taking possession of the funds. The money goes directly to the church, and therefore it stays off of your 1040, which means less of your Social Security is taxable, which means you're saving taxes even though you're not itemizing.
Interesting. That's a pretty good plan right there. All right, so let's talk about this. This is a question that I think about, millions of people think about. Am I ready to retire? Am I ready to retire? How do I know? Nick, how do I know if I've worked long enough, saved enough, can live the lifestyle I want for whatever period of time? How do I know if I'm ready to retire? How do you gauge that?
Well, I think there's 4 questions you have to ask yourself, and most people get it right. The first question is money, and that's where we come in to help you make sure that you have enough money so you won't run out. But there's a few other questions you want to ask as well, such as, have I accomplished what I want in my career? So a lot of people, they might hate their job, and that's not an issue, but if you love what you do and you have goals, right, with your career, you might want to stick around to see those out. And then thirdly, this is a huge question, what am I going to do with my 40 plus hours per week? And a lot of people, retire to the couch, and that's not a good situation. And then finally, the 4th question is my spouse on board?
Yeah, well, that's important. You need to have a united front, as they say, right? I mean, you have to be on the same page, because if I think, well, I could live kind of a Spartan lifestyle, and the spouse is like, no, I don't want to live a Spartan lifestyle. That leaves you kind of at odds, doesn't it?
It sure does. And, a lot of times one spouse works, one spouse stays at home, and now you're kind of coming home full time and invading their territory, right? So, you really have to be on the same page there. Right.
All right. So let's talk about this. What are the 5 stages of retirement? You've got it here for me, and I want to go through these. And I know we've got, some supporting information for those watching on television today. What are those 5 stages of retirement, Nick?
Well, I think a lot of people can relate to the first, which is anticipation. It's kind of like, you're a senior in high school. You have a little bit of senioritis. You're anticipating what's coming next. the dreams of going to the beach and playing golf and sleeping in, and that's a wonderful feeling. And then number two is the honeymoon, which, for a lot of people, this is their entire retirement period. And for others, sadly, it's a short amount of time. The idea of, oh boy, I get to go to the beach again today. Well, there's got to be more to life than leisure. And so some people fall into step three, which is disenchantment. And that's kind of like a depression stage. And not everyone falls into this, but many people do. And did you know that men over the age of 70, this is very sad, Steve, they have the highest suicide rate in our country. And it goes unnoticed because it doesn't make the news. But a lot of people fall into this category. We have to go to step four, which is rejuvenation. We have to get inspired by something, to get us out of bed in the morning, to get us off the couch. And then we can reach fulfillment, which oftentimes is related with connectedness, personal growth and development, and giving back. Don't retire, graduate to the next level.
Yeah, do something, be connected, be involved. Maybe it is a charity. We talked about charities here a moment ago. Maybe it's something in your community. Maybe it's your church, whatever it might be. Be involved, be connected. And I didn't know that statistic about suicide for people over 70, but there it is. All right, real quick before we leave today, we got a couple of minutes here. Nick, let's just talk about the things at hand today that we have no control over whatsoever, that being, interest rates and inflation and everything else. What are you seeing right now?
Yeah, well, we're seeing a little bit of reacceleration with the inflation, primarily due to energy prices and the cost of gas. And so, the Fed did hold rates steady last week, but they're talking a tough talk, like they're going to hold them higher for longer and maybe one more raise in November. And as a result, interest rates have spiked to new highs. Money markets are still holding steady at around 5.25, but the 10-year rates, the longer-term bonds, have spiked. So our investors have experienced just a terrible fixed income environment, with now bonds down 3 calendar years in a row. It's never happened in the history of our country.
Interesting. What do you think is going to happen then? It's never happened. What does it indicate? I think that we've talked about this in previous weeks. The Fed probably going to jack up interest one more quarter point before the year is over. Already in an economy that I don't think can quite take it, but we've got about 30 seconds here. Give me the last word.
Well, in historical times when the Fed raises rates, the bond market rates peak at or about the same time of the final rate hike. So we're very close. So from my point of view as an investor, I'm looking at the last 3 years, and it's painful for my fixed income, but I'm very excited because the silver lining going forward is now we can earn 5, 6, and 7% on our conservative fixed income in the future.
Well, that is good news. All right, Nick, you laid a lot out for us there today, a lot of it there. Nick Hopwood, certified financial planner, founder and president of Peak Wealth. You can find him at peakwm.com, or if you're watching on TV, take that QR code, take a picture with your phone. For those of you that are skilled in such things, there's the QR code, take you right to peakwm.com. Nick, thank you as always.
Thank you, Steve. Have a great day.
You too. Sheriff Mark Lamb of Arizona with me next to talk about his run for a Senate seat. Don't go anywhere.